My name is Thomas Varughese. I was born and brought up in a place called Kuriyanur near Tiruvalla. I was born into a Christian family. Currently we are living in Canada, a state called Alberta in Edmonton City. Me and my family, my dear wife Leela, my son Dave, my daughters Gina and Grace. We have been there for the last 18 years, and God miraculously, wonderfully kept us in that part of the land. And today I want to share you something that happened in my life, a unique experience, a mighty miracle that happened in my life. Some of the Bible verses that is relating to it, which is strengthening me every day, I just want to read it for you. For he will command his angels concerning you to guard you in all your ways. They will lift you up in their hands so that you will not strike your foot against a stone. The angel of the Lord encamps around those who fear him, and he delivers them. What no eye has seen, what no ear has heard, and what no human mind has conceived, the things God has prepared for those who love him. In 2008, July 9th, it was our practice to go for a road trip every year during summer holidays, and it was really a wonderful time for myself and my wife to drive thousands of kilometers to any of the US cities and come back during the summer holidays. That year we decided to go to Seattle, and my daughters Gina and Grace surprisingly said they will join us. And we had a wonderful time there. We were coming back through Vancouver, and July 9th, early morning, we hit the highway. It was a journey of 14 hours, and the first 5 hours I drove the van. Then my daughters took turn. From Hinton to Edmonton City, my youngest daughter Grace was driving and I was sitting in the passenger seat. And we were very close to my home. As we approached the home, there was only 5 minutes left. Suddenly my heart stopped due to a very unique problem called idiopathic VTAC attack. VTAC due to unknown reason. And there is a very little or absolutely no chance of survival when a VTAC attack happens outside the hospital. But God did a mighty miracle that day, that evening in my life, which enabled me to come here and share my story to you. When my heart stopped, my family came to know it within a minute, because I murmured, my Lord, twice as I was leaving the body. That triggered my daughter to come and check my pulse, and I was already gone. They stopped the van. My daughter Grace stopped the van. The van came to a screeching halt in a spot near the Westbrook soccer field. Towards the end of the soccer field, it had the chain fence, and there were two places where people could crawl in and out. And the van stopped right in the middle of the second square cut, just like somebody stopped it there. As soon as she started yelling for help and calling 911, they suddenly saw 15 ladies around the van. They asked, what is the problem? My daughter Gina said, it looks like my dad had a heart attack. They said, don't worry, we know what to do. Michelle McMoran, a registered nurse, she jumped into the van, released my body from the seat belt, and gave it to the people standing there. They put it on a cement block and Michelle started giving me resuscitation. And Erin started giving me compressions for the next 12 plus minutes. By the time the ambulance came, and the ambulance crew took me inside the ambulance and started shocking me right away. And I woke up. And when I woke up, it was a horror sight. And that feeling is still giving chill through my spine because it was powerful lights focused on my body. It was just like me lying in a pool of water. I never knew it was my sweat. And when I came back, I saw a group of people standing around my bed, and people were crying. The sirens of so many vehicles were making noise. That horrible moment I still remember. But God was started doing something very wonderful that evening, which was unknown to each one of us, including me. What is His plan? He was changing my plan that moment. They took me to hospital. By 8:30, I came to know that I am going to die because my chest is going to burst and my brain is about to burst. So I knew I am going to die. Somehow that feeling came to me. I called my family, started with my wife, and told her final goodbye. She screamed and said, "You cannot go." And then I called my daughters and I said, "It looks like it's my time to go. You tell my son who was in Dubai at that time that I love him, and I'm going to miss all of you." As I was waiting to die, suddenly I heard a voice, somebody murmuring in my ears, "You wait and watch what God is going to do in your life today." I didn't understand the meaning of it. The way I understood was, I'm going to die. So I'm waiting to see how death will be. I decided in my mind that I will wait peacefully, not crying, not making any noise, just look around to see whether any of my dear ones will be coming to take me back home. As I was waiting, I got the first shock in my life when I was awake. It was so nasty that it was just like somebody hitting me with a hammer in the middle of the chest. My body went up from the stretcher and fell down. I counted 4 of those shocks. Then after the 4th shock, I went into heavy sedation, deep induced coma, and all my body functions were put on the machine, including the breathing ventilator. And then for the long 48 hours, the doctors said those are critical hours. And they also advised my family that if there are any dear ones not there, tell them to come and see me urgently. And because they were under the impression that I may not make it. Even if I make it, they don't know in what shape or condition I'll be coming back. And nobody knows how many minutes I lost oxygen. But God preserved me well. All through these 100+ shocks which my body had to endure. I don't think there is anybody alive in the world who got more than 100 shocks. Above all, even though I received so many shocks, God kept my heart well, the muscles, the valves, my brain, my body as a whole. He kept it well, even though I have gone through the valley, suffering much. But through each minute, each hour, He was bringing me back. When I was lying in the hospital, God told me, I cannot put you in heaven. So I asked Him back, how come you can't put me in heaven? So He told me, I can't put you in heaven because you haven't reconciled to a lot of people. I never knew that irreconciliation is such a big sin. That night, that day, I decided that I have to reconcile to so many people. I have to say sorry, and also I have to say, I have to forgive a lot of people. That was a new message for me. And actually that's a big sin between us and God. That taught me a new lesson. 2008, July 9th at 7:20 when it happened, in the roadside, there were a group of people who were having a fasting prayer, 7 in the evening. It happened to me at 7:20. Suddenly they got a revelation that to pray in such a way that restore him. The prayer was for me. The power of prayer is unbelievable. And that could change a dead man back. And that's what happened to me. When I was in deep sedation for 48 hours, as I got some sense in my brain, somebody murmured in my ears, you pray. So I asked him back, what can I pray? So he told me, you pray to wash you in your blood of Jesus. So I don't know how many times I prayed that short prayer, Jesus, wash me in your blood from head to toe. As I woke up in the hospital, and my body was in terrible condition, I could move only my toes and fingers. At 2 o'clock, as I was sleeping and just woke up. As I woke up, I saw a person in white coat running away from my room. And I asked my daughter, who is that person? He didn't even talk to me one word. She said, Dad, you and me are alone here. Unfortunately, I couldn't see his face. That night I saw a tree. Around 2 o'clock I saw somebody standing with white gown near my bed. And I felt severe pain here. And I put my hand there and felt the thread which was used for stitching that wound. Because of the pain, I caught hold of his hand and I asked him, what did you do to me? He said, your heart was no good. So I had to cut open and throw your heart to garbage. So I smartened up and asked him, did you put for me a cadaver heart? Then he said, the next statement is very profound. He said, my son, I give you my heart. I couldn't understand the meaning of it for 4 weeks. Suddenly, the group of cardiologists came to my room. My family was there. And I joined them in the conversation. And they were discussing my case and what happened to me. I joined with them in the conversation. As the conversation was going on, suddenly I saw myself on the bed. And I was surprised. It's me. So suddenly I decided to go back to my body. So that kind of out-of-body experience also I had. After 3 days, they decided to wake me up and inform my family that I will be woken up. But in that hospital bed, God clearly told me, I cannot put you in heaven. So I asked him, how come you cannot put me in heaven? He said, you haven't reconciled to so many people in your life. I never knew that irreconciliation is such a big sin. And he sent me back saying with this message, you go and tell others what I have done in your life. As I woke up, I never had any idea where I am, how many hours or how many days have gone by. And my daughter suddenly said it's Saturday noon. Then suddenly I realized Wednesday evening 7:20 it happened. Saturday noon is a long time, so I had so many plans. But God changed all my plans. I thought very next day I'll be going back to office to start my duty. But I could go back only after 7 months. So I came to realize for the first time in my life, even if I am not here, things will be still happening, still moving. The sun will rise and set even without each one of us being here. Then I was discharged to go home. But in those 2 weeks, including the time when I was under induced coma, the cardiologists have done every known test relating to my heart on my body. But they couldn't find anything wrong with it. Finally, they did the MRI of the heart, which they concluded that mine is a normal, healthy heart. Because my master gave me a new heart. Otherwise, I won't be here to tell you the story today. And I went back home. My body was in very painful, severe conditions. I didn't have the health or the strength to stand up to take a shower. I couldn't climb the stairs, but slowly God restored my health. As I was taking rest at home, after 2 weeks, I came to know accidentally that there were ladies involved in this story. Suddenly I asked my wife, honey, we need to find out those people. We need to invite them for a cup of tea. From that moment onwards, regularly on Wednesdays, we started going and searching for them at 7:20, 7 o'clock in the evening. We couldn't find them for 14 months, long months. After some time searching through the city records and the soccer association and the schools around, I came to the conclusion that they were angels, just sent for that moment. August 14, after 14 months, the Holy Spirit prompted us, compelled us to go through that way again. As we go anytime through that spot, that day also I prayed, Lord, you are a wonderful God. Thank you, Jesus, because this is where you have done this unique miracle in my life. And that day also, that evening 7:45, I prayed the same prayer. But suddenly I realized it's Wednesday and the time is 7:45, and when it happened first time, it was Wednesday 7:20 in the evening. But amazingly, when I looked inside the park, I saw a group of ladies practicing soccer that evening. We decided to go and talk to them. They couldn't believe it is me. It was the same group, a club called Grasshoppers. And they asked me, are you alive? Because they were sure that I was already dead. We invited them for a dinner that evening, and somehow the news leaked out, and the TV crew and the newspaper reporters came that evening with them, and they came home and they interviewed each one of us, and they surprisingly asked one question: how many of you ladies know CPR? They all raised their hand. I couldn't believe. It was an exclusive club of CPR trained people. God arranged, even though they didn't know that God is working. Many of them had no touch with God, but God used them for me. And the news came in the next day's paper in the front page as the main news. It came in the TV as news 5 or 6 times. And during these 5 years, it appeared several times in the Christian channels and articles. And I am not the only one who is saying this. My family was with me. And there were a lot of people involved, those 15 ladies, hospital staff, and they all confirmed that this miracle happened. For a long time, I had this doubt, why God has shown such a mercy, kindness in my life. Am I so valuable? Then after a few months, I heard a message on the television that the thing that makes Picasso's drawings are not the beauty of the picture. More than that, it is the signature at the corner of the picture. Suddenly I came to realize that I have that signature on my life. I have that signature of God on my life, even though that is not pleasing God, even though that is not perfect. I am priceless. Each one of us are priceless. As you hear this, you may be going through a desperate situation. But mind, God is seeing you as a priceless person. God has a plan, and He wants each one of us to be in His plan. I challenge a lot of people. And my calling is to share the testimony to believers, non-believers, anybody and everybody. And when I share my testimony, I ask people, especially the unbelievers, how come that these events happen without a planning? Somebody was planning it for weeks for me. Otherwise, it won't happen that spot, because it was a journey of 14 plus hours, 1500 kilometers. And why did it happen in that particular spot? If it happened 5 minutes early or 5 minutes late, I won't be here to tell you the story. Why the CPR trained ladies were there. And these are all questions which I put forward as a challenge to people. If God is not in this story, how did all these things happen? The next thing I asked them is, as I was going through this valley, the only person I saw is Jesus Christ. How come I didn't see any other gods or any other saints or any other holy person? Only Jesus Christ. So I tell them, everybody, God gave me that courage to tell everybody that Jesus is the only truth. He is the deliverer. He is the only truth. And He gave me a new heart and a new life and a new vision and a new passion. The passion is to please Him in my thought, in my action, in my everything that I am doing. I want to please Him. My life is not a perfect one, but Jesus is able to wash me and make me perfect. So let this message be a blessing to you and also an encouragement. Somebody needs to hear this message today, otherwise I won't be here. I would have been gone long back, and I wouldn't be able to make this long journey to come here to record this message. Somebody needs to hear this. May God bless you all.